Okay, let's jump in real quick. Network security baseline. Remember yesterday we talked a lot about different areas. For most of us on this program already, we know foundationally what some of these things are already. And what does that mean? In simple terms, you know, we can know that network is connectivity of multiple devices. Every environment is network at some point. Even your home right now, your network is really connected to your router. Your, service provider has set you up in a way that you can log in with your phone, your laptop, your desktop, and all of these devices in your own local network in your home right now. All of us have a network, right? Except you're not online, you know? So at the end of the day, for our network, there are some baseline security that we need to consider, and don't overthink this. All we are saying is that we should have standardized set of security configuration for your network devices, and this would help us to minimize attack surface, ways in which malicious actors can attack us and prevent vulnerabilities, right? And that's why you will notice for all of us now, imagine, in the past, people just set up a network, they don't put a password. So imagine you not having a password. I mean, it's a no-brainer. Come on, put a password on your network, or else anybody can just log into that network. And it's a risk to you as an organization, right? Or as a home also. So that's the real gist of it. So benchmarks and secure configuration guidelines. For most of us, I'll tell you one thing, anywhere you find yourself working, one of the core things you will hear is secure configuration baseline. The baseline will just be okay. At the end of the day, we want to say what are those standard configuration minimal requirements we should have. That's what we're saying, really. It's not rocket science. It means even if I have a phone or laptop, one of the first things we always do is okay, we set up at the minimum user ID and password, a pin to get into my phone or laptop, right? So that's baseline security, right? Then I set it up in a way that, before you gain access to any critical application in my system, I probably put additional maybe multi-factor authentication in some cases. Then, who can actually sit or have access to my device, you can enable it also. The same thing for your phone. So all of these are like baseline configuration guideline. So some organization has they've kind of given us some good best practices. Center for Internet Security is a big one out there. So they have their own benchmark out there, CIS. For those of us in our cyber, is one of the new framework we are adding. Security Technical Implementation Guideline also. These are some, recommended guideline by the Department of Defense in the US and Canada, right? Then we have vendor provided guidance. Every vendor I've seen, virtually 90% of them, would always have a guideline of recommendation. As a matter of fact, they would have default baseline. And I think I gave an example yesterday. I was setting up Google Cloud for a mobile application I was working on for Skillweed, right? And one of the requirements I didn't know was to set up a service account whereby somebody can remotely support us. So I just followed the instruction. Along the line, I got stuck because they required me to enable certain permission to override the ability for, because generally we should not just have somebody logging in remotely to your system, but I'm requesting it. Google said, sorry, hello, no, you cannot. However, if you want to do it, override it by accepting the risk. Okay, got it. So those are the baseline configuration, even from a vendor, in this case, Google, right? So the same principle applies. Switches and router securities, right? At the end of the day, this is also a big one out there. For your switches, for your routers, for your firewall, for any kind of device organization use, one of the typical thing is that they would force you and I to change the default credentials. They would make sure we disable unnecessary service. This is a very big one out there. I will allow us to be able to chat now because I think this is a very cool one out there. Let me just quickly allow us to all chat. Feel free to chat here because this is a very, very common one. Many times, what I think is a smart practice is just disable everything that is not necessary. If people need it, bring a use case, enable it, then fine. But generically, just disable it, right? It's easy for me. It's easy for you too, and your technical team and everybody because you're at peace that nobody would have access without presenting a use case and for us to provide some minimal oversight for a start. The third one is secure management protocol. So for all of us, there are some secure protocol like SSH. Can we all type SSH, please, if you don't mind? And normally this ensure confidentiality and integrity during management sessions. When you're sending information, it's a way you can have some measure of security out there. And again, the reason I want you to write it is because you might see it in a question and they talk about which of this is secure protocol. So in your mind, just know, okay, SSH is something that typically is a secure means out there. Number four is implement access control list. This is very important. Many times you can restrict the way network comes to your, you know, come to your organization with these parameters like where's the source, the destination, and you could have other criterias to control access to prevent unauthorized connection to your system. So the good thing is that you are flexible, but this is a common one to kind of say, okay, we have a access control list. And the honest truth is that most of these organizations, they have configured their system in such a way that they've identified what should come in, what should go out, what should not even come in at all. If you're coming in through an unsecure means, then don't even come in at all, right? And you guys already know the likes of HTTP versus HTTPS, right? The S means secure, FTP versus SFTP, which is secure FTP. If you have an interview, or I say interview, that's my life all, but if you have an exam coming, right? So your mindset is mostly if there is this is a question I've seen. Somebody can ask you, well, which of this is a secure internet protocol? If you see HTTP, you know it's not secure. HTTPS is the secure one. So be careful at times. You open a web browser and you notice, oh, okay, it looks like Bank of America. You now check and see, oh, wait a minute, this is a clone site. There's no S in it. So you know that's a fraudulent site in that case, right? So